She helps women entrepreneurs get unstuck from thinking about a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing a podcast in 30 days. Yeah, we're excited to have Sonya Keeve with us live in the virtual studio, and we're going to get all into it right after our quick intro. So, if you've ever thought about doing your own podcast, if podcasting intrigues you, you want to stick around and you want to hang out here for the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. We'll be right back after this quick intro.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Why y'all so happy?
You don't know? Sharvette Mitchell is on the radio.
It's time to get motivated, excited, and influenced. Why? It's the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, live from Richmond, Virginia. And now, here to motivate, excite, and influence you, Sharvette Mitchell.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, but heard and seen all across the World Wide Web. We are so excited to have all of our listeners that are live from 3 different places in Facebook. Hey, Facebook, certainly over on YouTube. Listen, we have guests checking in over on YouTube. Hey, Kim, over on YouTube. That's my sister. Hey, Deborah, hanging out over on YouTube. Facebook is coming on in. Hello, my mom, Betty. Thank you for stopping on in. And we are excited because Yulika Kimber is in the virtual studio hanging out with us. Hello, over on YouTube, Alicia. Thank you for being here. Hey, girl. Hey, we are excited because I am telling you what, today's show is a hot topic. How to get the visibility, credibility, and profitability for your business via podcasting. And we're going to jump right on into that today. But listen, I want to let you know that this segment is brought to you by, drum roll. I need a drum roll track right about now. I'm super excited because we are hitting the airwaves. We are getting on planes, and I am excited to host my pop-up luxury retreat that's going to be taking place Thursday, November 3rd through Sunday, November 6th in sunny Orlando, Florida. Let me tell you, I have hosted conferences. It's been 6 conferences that I've hosted, and I am honored to produce and put together this intimate setting of a business retreat and personal development retreat. And you might be saying, well, what are the benefits of a retreat? Listen, leaders move and think and strategize faster when they're in a space without the usual distractions of life and all of that. And the energy of group collaboration is something that cannot be beat. But let me just tell you where we are having this. We are having this in a 10,000 square foot mansion in Orlando, Florida. Listen, I have limited space. I invite you to schedule a call at joinsharvette.com so that we can discuss if this is a good fit for you and for your business. And we invite you to the pop-up luxury retreat. Again, this segment is brought to you by the Pop-Up Luxury Retreat. All right, there you have it. Hello, Tony and Winston joining us. She's going to be at the retreat. Welcome. Let's see, we have my Facebook group coming on in. Let me check here. Lisa, thank you for being here and in the audience. So let me introduce my guest. I invite you to go ahead and share this broadcast out if you are live. Listen, we cannot leave out our podcast listeners. Apple Podcasts, you all are the highest in the number as always, but Stitcher, iHeartRadio, thank you so much. Blog Talk Radio, we appreciate you. So those that are listening from various methods, we thank you for taking your time out to listen. So hanging out with me in the virtual studio, about to come up to the mic, Sonya Keeve is an international Amazon best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, and consultant. As a wife, a mother, and a mentor and a leader in her community, her passions lie in helping emerging career professional women to turn their passion projects into a thriving business to generate secondary income for their households. Sonya is the CEO of Sisters with a Voice podcast network, where she helps women entrepreneurs get unstuck from thinking about a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing a podcast in 30 days. As the executive director and host of two podcast shows, Begin Again and Inspiring Nations, an international podcast show heard in over 164 countries. She interviews women from across the globe that have stories of how they inspire others every single day. We're excited coming up to the mic live on the Sharvette Mitchell radio show. Let me bring her on in. Hello, Sonya. How are you?
Hello, darling. How are you?
I am doing well. We are so excited to have you joining us. I am telling you what, we've got, listen, Fab Five is coming on in. Hey, Ayana, hanging out with us over on LinkedIn. Tanya is coming on in. Just saw her on Sunday in Portsmouth. Lynette is coming on in and saying hi. So certainly, and again, lots of love on YouTube as well. So let's talk about how you actually got into this space really around podcasting.
Well, it's funny. I never thought I would be in this space of podcasting, but it stemmed from years ago when I was laid off from my corporate job. I'd been with this company for 5 years and thinking I was going to climb this corporate ladder to become the next African American senior VP. Had the VP come in flying to meet with me. So I was excited thinking, oh, this is it. This is the moment, only to be told, I'm sorry, but due to a reorganization, we're going to have to let you go. And I asked, well, could I at least say goodbye to my colleagues? And only to be told, I'm sorry, but you got 5 minutes to get your things and go.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can tell you it was probably the darkest period in my life, but it ended up being the biggest blessing in my life because through a 40-day fast, God led me on the path of being a part of a book anthology called Women Inspiring Nations. The visionary was Dr. Cheryl Wood. And that really opened the doors for me to really figure out how I could have more impact. And so through a social media dare, or really a challenge, they challenged aspiring entrepreneurs to come up with a product or service, but they had to be ready to implement it right away. And so someone talked to me about podcasting. I knew a little bit about it, but the thing that I loved about podcasting is that I loved inspiring women. And so I love to talk. And so not knowing anything about it, I just put a question out there to my network and asked, if I start a podcast, would you be my guest? And 50 women said yes. So I said, oh my God, I got to come up with a platform. Like now these women are ready. And so I asked God again, okay, what is the show going to be? And literally he said in my ear, duh, it's going to be called Inspiring Nations. And we launched March 10th of 2018. And on the 10th, oh my God, of this month, it will be 4 years.
Wow, congratulations. And thank you for sharing that kind of background story and also kind of just jumping in. Like you said, it was a little bit of a dare, but you responded and then and saw the response come back. Oftentimes I think that's a teachable moment for all those that are watching and listening that, the earth, and I say this to my clients, my platform builder clients all the time, the earth responds to action takers. And so when you take an action, there's going to be a response back. And sometimes we talk ourselves out of things. And that's what stops us. So I hear a lot of people that want to do a podcast. I hear a lot of people that are interested in podcasting. And I am really passionate about it because here we are on a format where this is talk radio, this is live streaming, but it also turns into a podcast a little bit later. And so, so much so that I teach clients as well to say, hey, utilize podcasting as one of the visibility strategies for your personal brand and for your business. And so why do you think people have a fear or get stuck, with getting started with a podcast?
There's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is a lot of people don't even realize that they need a podcast. And so the podcast is going to help you get visibility. So many of us do Facebook Lives all the time, and they confuse that doing a Facebook Live is a podcast. And I always have to tell them there is a difference, because with a podcast, you're going to be on a platform that is all of yours, that you own, that you have creative control. And so sometimes it's that fear of the unknown well, one, do I have enough content to even build a show? Or two, would people even tune in for my show? And so it just requires for you to kind of get a little clarity around why do you even want to start. So when they can answer that why, that helps them to kind of take that step forward. And once they realize the space of how podcasting just embraces and is an extension of what you already do, then they get super excited.
All right, they get super excited. And so that visibility piece,
Yeah.
let's, talk a little bit more about this. So who is podcasting best suited for? And welcome again to, all those that are coming on in, Sharnella and Akeelia, and all those that are coming in. Who is it best suited for? And shout out to Carla R. Jenkins, who just retweeted us on Twitter.
Awesome. Yep. Podcasting is definitely for authors, speakers, thought leaders, teachers, coaches, preachers. Yes, preachers. And it's for anybody who's ever written content, whether you've written a book, spoke on stages, helped other entrepreneurs, helped others, and served others. Podcasting is definitely for you.
All right. And then that credibility piece, as
Yeah.
those of you are tuning in, again, welcome to the Sharvette
Mhm.
Mitchell radio show. And we're talking about how to get visibility, credibility, and profitability for your business with podcasting. And so how do you define credibility, and why, why do you feel like uh, we need it as leaders and business owners?
Well, the credibility, when you think about credibility, you are standing out as the expert in your respected industry. And
Mhm.
so when you speak to the things that you know best and you help your clients get results, that gives you the credibility, because the thing that we know is that people will buy from those that they know, like, and trust. And so you sharing your expertise on a platform like podcasting, and people are getting that transformation and getting results of what you're sharing, that offers you the opportunity to say that I am a leader, because people who work with me, people that I serve, they get the results that they're looking for. And so will reach out to you. So when they know that you're the go-to person, then they tell everyone about you. You start to build your expertise in a space that's not going anywhere, and you get that credibility instantly.
Ah, well said. Well said. Question coming in from LinkedIn. Hello, Jeanette. She's a playwright with an audio drama podcast beats
Ooh.
work. That sounds intriguing, right?
Yes, absolutely. You could absolutely do an audio drama podcast. I When I think of an audio drama podcast, I put them like almost in the category as crime podcast. And so you have this whole genre of people that tune in to dramas, that tune in to hear well, what's going to happen next. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like having the story told in audio format. So now you've got the undivided attention of your audience who is tuning in and listening, and they're drawn in. And so if you've got that energy to draw them in, like I always like to use Dateline, for the
Yeah.
for a crime podcast. Like when we watch Dateline, I can't think of the reporter's name, but he has the white hair and he has that soft voice, and he just draws you in with his storytelling
Yeah.
gifts. And you're like, honey, let me get my popcorn, let me get my Moscato, and let me get ready to sit
Yes.
down, because and then it starts, don't watch alone. So with a podcast, don't listen alone.
All right. Listen, Jeanette, I think there is your answer. And we got some people sounding off in agreement. Carla is saying we are here for these drama, audio, murder, mystery
Yes,
podcasts. So Jeanette,
yes,
go
yes.
forward, go forward. And so I love that question because I think sometimes we might think in a silo about podcasts.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Sonya, I'd love for you to share, like, what are all the different types of ways people can do a podcast, by themselves with guests, to kind of enlighten the audience around that.
Yeah, so there's several ways that you can do it. Most people, when they first start out as a podcaster, they start off as a solo style podcaster. So
Mhm.
that's just you and your comforts of your home, just you delivering your content, your drama, your entertainment, whatever you're doing, and you're sharing that expertise. Then there's what's called co-hosted style. So, like me and Sharvette, we could potentially be a co-hosted style podcast where she could come in and do the introduction, like she introduced me, and then I could now share, either we have a guest, we interview someone, or then I add some flavor to whatever the topic is. And the thing that I love about co-hosting style is you get two different perspectives on the same topic. So you hear
Yeah.
different voices, you get really engaged with having a co-hosted style type of podcast. And then we have like interview style, which is very similar to co-hosting, but you may, as a solo podcaster, I like to use this for co-authors of anthologies. So you may have multiple co-authors that you interview in kind of this interview style, and you give them a few minutes to kind of be, share why they were part of that project. And then there's round tables, a round table talk. And I like to use the example of Jada Pickett Smith's Red Table Talk, where she's got her
Yes.
mom, her grandmother, and her daughter. And so the three of them will interview a guest, and they again have that each perspective that they bring or a question that they ask. And then with each of those styles, the thing is, you don't have to stick to one. So you could totally show up as a solo style podcaster one week and then have a guest the next. And I like to do that because it gives a different flavor, gives a different energy, and most people will tune in because you've got those different layers. But if you are someone that's like, you know what, I love one style, then absolutely stick to that style.
Oh, right. And what's interesting about podcasting, and what I tell clients, in particular that are in my platform builder program, you actually turn into media. You are
Yeah.
a media outlet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so in media, oftentimes that's drawing and that's getting new audiences. There are people that are listening now today, maybe the first time that they tuned in, that they're finding out about me, they're finding out about you, and it just gives that, that credibility. And then if people are looking for media attention, why not turn into media? While people are hanging out with us, where can they connect with you online?
Absolutely. You can reach me on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Sonya Keeve, SonjaKeeve, or go to my website at www.sonyakeeve.com.
All right. Now let's talk about the profitability side of it.
Yes.
So, what are things like that? That always is an interest to people. Like, let's talk about the money. Where does that come in?
Well, there's several ways that you can definitely monetize a podcast. The thing that I love about when you start a podcast, one, you're going to get some wonderful new skill sets. So you're going to learn things like editing and producing, interviewing, scheduling. These are all new skill sets that if you've never done that before, it's now going to introduce you to do that. Now, when most people start a podcast and ask about the money, the first thing they think about is sponsorships. And I want to enlighten the audience that sponsorships is probably one of the hardest avenues to get to when you're first starting out, because you have to build an audience and, like I call, your raving fan community base. And so with sponsorships, a lot of times those come into play once you have been doing the show for quite a while and have it,
Yeah.
anywhere from 1,000 to maybe 3,000 downloads per show. So I tell people, let's do things a little easier. What do you already have in your hands right now? So if you have products, if you have services that you already currently offer to some of your customers and clients, guess what? You get to use your podcast platform for free advertisement. So you don't have to spend thousands of dollars doing radio spots or TV spots. You can incorporate it right in the middle of your show, your new project coming out, your new book coming out, because statistics have shown that 54% of those that have tuned into a podcast have admitted to buying a product or service that was advertised on a podcast show.
Ah, that's so good. Let me capture a question because I know you got more to say. Ulika is requesting and asking the Ulika Kimber, CPA, do you offer editing or production services? And so I think this is a great question because sometimes we talked a little bit about the fear around
Yeah.
like just getting started, but then sometimes people have the question around kind of like the techie part of that?
Yes, as part of my company, we do offer editing services. So, because I do know sometimes people do not want to edit their own podcast, they want to have somebody else do it for them. Um, but I also like to teach my clients how to do it themselves because guess what? Just as this question is asked, this is a piece that you can monetize right away when you learn how to do it. And I teach my clients how to do that. So, yes, I do offering editing services.
Okay, and where should they contact you for that?
You can contact me. You can email me at skempowers@gmail.com, and we can get on a call and talk about how I can help you for that service.
Oh, right. And as far as teaching clients, do you have a program? And can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, I actually, as you know, I'm the CEO and founder of Sisters with the Voice Podcast Network, where we help women entrepreneurs build, launch, and monetize that podcast. But I offer a 6-week program. I teach it live through Zoom, and we go through the 7 pillars of what it takes to build, launch, and monetize that podcast. And we talk about how to create content, how to edit your show, how to get on all the podcast platforms, how to monetize, and so much more. And so that next cohort will begin on April 10th of 2018. Lord Jesus, of 2020.
She
I
went
done
back,
went.
back to
I done went
future.
back of 2022, honey. Let's get the year right. Um, and so you will be set up with everything from your equipment to having everything you need. So when you are done, you are launching your podcast show in 30 days. And while it seems quick, the process of how you learn helps you to build it. You get my one-on-one coaching and so much more. And so if you're interested in being a part of that next cohort, because my students are currently in a class right now, the
Uh-huh.
next one will be on April the 10th. And you can hit me up on all the social media platforms and I can get you the link to register for the next class because I only take 10 students per session.
All right, there you have it. And Jeanette over on LinkedIn is just double checking. Is this the correct email?
That is the correct one. Yep. skempowers@gmail.com. Yes,
All
Jeanette, you're
right.
correct.
There you go. There you go. There you have it. Thank you for being our scribe there. Welcome again to all those that are popping on in, checking out the Sharvette Mitchell radio show. I am Sharvette Mitchell, your lovely host, and we are here with Sonya Keeve, international Amazon bestselling author, podcaster, speaker, and consultant. And we are talking about how to get visibility, credibility, and profitability for your business via podcasting. And so certainly I am a proponent of that. This show is evidence of that. This show started actually live in the radio station,
Yep.
1540 Rejoice AM in Richmond, Virginia. Oh my goodness, almost 14 years ago. And then I
Wow.
found out about internet radio. Blog Talk Radio, shout out to them because it's a platform I still use. And then they put it into the podcast system. So there's a couple different ways that
Yes.
you can get to have a podcast. But that was my journey. And so it absolutely one of the best things certainly for my brand, even till today. It's in my bio. If I go somewhere, if I'm introduced, I was just emceeing a gala over the weekend, and it was one of the things that was called out in my introduction. Even if I don't send, and if I send my full bio, almost always the Sharvette Mitchell radio show and this i.e. turns into a podcast is called out and recognized. So people take for granted
Yeah.
that you jump behind a mic because most people are scared. So,
Yeah.
becoming a podcast host, doesn't that shift people kind of into another realm in other people's minds?
Yeah. It really it well, one, it's going to give you, as you said, it gives you that brand awareness. And the thing with a podcast, you can choose to do audio style type of podcasts where like with my guests on Inspiring Nations. I'll interview my guests live like this through Zoom, but it's a pre-recorded show. So I will record the show with my guest, and I do that intentionally because I want them to be relaxed and I want us to have a really authentic conversation. And it's always funny when I get ready to have a guest on, they're like, oh my God, I gotta get my hair done, I gotta get my makeup done. And I was like, nope, you don't have to do anything, just relax. And then once they find out the format of how the show is, they just kind of sit back And they're like, and then they start sharing things they didn't even plan to because of the
Spilling the tea.
experiment that I create. I like to
Yeah.
call it the Oprah effect, where honey, she would get you to cry and say some stuff you didn't plan on it. But that's what I love about it. It gives you that comfortability. So even if someone is fearful of being on camera, there's something about just you being in your own studio and someone else being, home and having that conversation and then delivering in audio format. And then the beauty of it is, say, for example, you decide, you know what, I want to be on YouTube. I want to have a YouTube channel. You can broadcast that either audio and or video style. So it just gives you so much flexibility, but it works with how you work, how you serve. Because even though, like I tell people, there are right now, as of 2021, there are 1.75 million podcasts out there. But don't get alarmed by that, because guess what? Only you can do you the way you can. So even though I have a spiritual, inspirational type of podcast, no one can do Sonya like me. And
That's right.
so it's how you deliver. No one can do Sharvette the way you do. And so it's just you are that secret sauce, and you connect to your audience with who you are and how you show up.
Yeah, such an excellent point, because there is a fear of the video piece for
Yeah.
some people. So you don't have to do the format that I'm doing.
Right.
But yeah, just removing the video piece and just concentrating on audio, I think is an excellent point, because that removes one of the fear factors
Yes.
for people. So one more time, how can people connect with you and hang out with you online, listen to your podcast, all that kind of stuff?
Yep. So for my podcast show, I actually have two. So an Inspiring Nations podcast show with Sonya Keeve is on all podcast platforms: Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. You can catch them on all podcast platforms every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And Begin Again, I launched that show actually in January of this year, and that is on Hindsight Media Radio. So to your point that you can do radio shows, yep, you absolutely can. So you can catch Begin Again every Monday night at 7 p.m. And to catch me through my social media platforms, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram at Sonya Keeve. And you can connect with me on my website at www.sonyakeeve.com. And also through Facebook, I do have a free Facebook community group called Build, Launch, and Monetize. So if you're looking for more tools and resources and just be in a community with amazing podcasters that are both aspiring and seasoned, you can definitely come on over there. I love to help have you there as part of that community, because my mission is to teach and train over 100,000 plus women to have a podcast, because we only represent 22% of all podcasters in the world, and
Yeah.
we need to change that narrative.
So good, so good. And for those that are watching right now, if you have a podcast, type in the comments, type in the chat. I want to throw it up on the screen and give you some shine and
Yes.
give you some space. So if you already host a podcast, go ahead and type that in. I want to pop it up on the screen. So certainly those that are listening in the podcast version, might be good to check this out on YouTube. Welcome to those that are watching on YouTube. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you love my content in this channel. Hit subscribe so you find out about other shows. So Sonya, are there any notable or past interviews that stick out to you? Maybe something, either somebody kind of famous or something funny. Any past interviews that kind of stick out?
Yep. Actually, my very first major influencer I had on my show was Amy Porterfield,
Yes.
on my show. And that really catapulted my career in podcasting. And so we didn't talk about it, but that whole visibility piece, it will help you connect to influencers. And when you have influencers on your show, then people start to really tune in and want to know more about who is this guest and what is she
Yeah.
about, and the host. And so I definitely had her. I also had Kalila Wright, CEO
Yes.
of Mess in a Bottle. That was an amazing interview. And at the time, and let me tell you about flexibility. So when I interviewed Kalila, she was in the middle of putting together a show at her warehouse in New York. And I was so grateful for her time. And I asked her to be a guest after she had become, she was a keynote for your conference at the pop-up. And
Yeah.
while everybody was taking pictures, I said, "Hey, Kalila, I would love to have you on my show." And
Yeah.
she said yes. And it was funny. In the middle of the interview, I kid you not, there was a robbery or something going on, and you could hear the sirens and you could hear the
What?
ambulances going down the street. She said, "Up, only in New York." And I kept that in the show for the authenticity, to let people know you can do a podcast show from anywhere in the world. Things can happen at any given time, but
Yeah.
it showed that here's a busy CEO with her message of mess in a bottle, and we created a movement from that interview. So those are the moments that I absolutely love. I've had
Yeah.
Sharvette, of course, on my show.
Thank you.
She
Thank
was,
you.
she was definitely my wonderful guest. I have loved Sharvette forever. And
Thank
you've
you.
always been so supportive of everyone in your community. So I was more than happy to have you on. When I had my earlier shows, she was part of
Yeah.
one of the many 50 women who said yes to being on my show. And so because of you and because of all of the incredible women that I have met,
Yeah.
it's been because podcasting became that connector. And so
Hmm.
now to be in a space where I created something, I had no idea what the impact was going to be. I decided to take the gifts of what I learned to build my show. And now I want to help other women to do the same.
Yes, yes. My sister Kim on YouTube is clapping it up for that response there. And it absolutely is a global thing. You
Yeah.
can interview people from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You can have listeners from anywhere in the world. So
Yes.
I know, sometimes we say global and international in a faith statement, but in
Oh,
actuality, you can,
it's real.
your podcast, you can prove, yes, I have
Yeah.
listeners in the Bahamas. I have listeners in Jamaica. I've
Yes.
interviewed people in Iceland and different time zones. So yeah, it really does can take your brand everywhere.
And I can tell you, when I launched Inspiring Nations, 3 months into the show, I was heard across the United States and in 3 countries at that time. So to your point, we don't say that we're international just for bragging rights. You have
Right.
stats to back you up for that. And that's exciting because you realize there are so many people that are tuning in from around the world that love the content that you're delivering. So
Yeah.
don't sit on your gifts. Use your voice. I tell people all the time, if you can open your mouth, you can start a podcast.
I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you, Sonya, for being here and for just sharing and enlightening. I know that there are listeners that are encouraged to say, okay, let me take the next step and go ahead and do that podcast. That's on my 2022 to-do list or on my whatever my vision board. I know that there are those that are here saying, I'm ready. I'm going to be taking that next step. So certainly your Fab Five sisters are here hanging out with you. And thank you so much for stopping by the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was indeed my pleasure.
All right. You are welcome. You are welcome. All right. Oh, wow. Awesome show. Awesome show. And I just want to echo what Sonya said. You have something to say. There is an audience that is waiting to hear from you. And so go ahead and step on out. If you've been thinking about doing a podcast, let this be the little bit of the nudge that you need. So we also want to say welcome to Women's History Month. At the time of this show, this is the first day of Women's History Month. And guess what? If you are hanging out over in my Facebook group, we're going to actually be hosting a complimentary Women's History Month Summit all next week. It's going to be Monday, March 7th through Friday, March 11th at 6 p.m. every day, featuring 2 dynamic speakers each night. And so you'll be seeing the flyer and all of that coming out later this week. And again, this segment is sponsored by and brought to you by my pop-up luxury retreat. This is the first retreat event that I am producing. I have 6 conferences under my belt and decided to create a more intimate experience for a few ladies. So I invite you to this luxury experience in this 10,000 square foot mansion that I have secured and rented in Orlando, Florida. If you're saying, oh, this is piquing my interest, jump over to joinsharvette.com and you'll download an information sheet. that'll give you all the details about the retreat package. And then there's information in there where you can schedule a meet and greet call with me to discuss and have a more intimate conversation around if this is a good fit for you and your brand. It is a business and a personal development retreat in Orlando, Florida. A lot of us have aspirations of doing big things, great things. And so I thought that it would be amazing for us to go and be able to live in and sit in and eat in where we are going and where we have aspirations in this beautiful mansion in Orlando, Florida, November 3rd through November 6th. Again, go to joinsharvette.com and that'll let you instantly download an information sheet. And let's have a conversation if you are interested in seeing if this is a good fit for you. Thank you for all of those that have been hanging out with us today. Thank you, Mom, for being here. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, comedian Wendy Lee. Yes, a lot, learned a lot. I'm glad. Thank you, Tanya. It was good to see you too this past weekend with Ayana Smith. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for being a part of the show. Again, you can find out more about all of our guests. If you only heard part of this and you're like, oh, I need to hear the rest, jump over to Sharvette.com. There's also connection points for me over there to find out more about our overall brand and everything that we produce and offer for the community, for business owners, and for our clients. And it's going to be a wrap today on the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. We'll see you all later. Bye.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you've been listening to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Get Sharvette Mitchell every Tuesday at 6 p.m., interviewing all the stars you want to hear from. So until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. This is the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show.